Namo Adidafa. Thanks so much for joining me for our daily practice check-in. Listen, listen, listen. This wonderful sound calls us back to our true home. The fourth mindfulness training. Aware of the suffering caused by unmindful speech and the inability to listen to others. I vow to cultivate loving speech and deep listening in order to bring joy and happiness to others and to relieve others of their suffering. Knowing that words can create happiness or suffering, I'm determined to speak truthfully, with words that inspire self-confidence, joy, and hope. I will not spread news that I do not know to be certain, and will not criticize or condemn things of which I am not sure. I will refrain from uttering words that can cause division or discord, or that can cause the family or the community to break. I am determined to make all efforts to reconcile and resolve all conflicts, however small. For our Dharma lessons, we're beginning a new book today called Everything We Do Matters by the Venerable Wuling, beginning with Chapter 1, Everything We Do Matters. In a land and time very distant from us, two men encountered one another. One was a Brahmin, a Hindu priest. He realized that the man he was looking at was no ordinary being, and so inquired, "Are you a god?" "No, Brahmin." "Are you an angel?" "No, Brahmin." "Are you a spirit?" "No, Brahmin." "What are you then?" "I am awake," replied the Buddha. By his own assertion, the Buddha was not a god. He was an ordinary man living in a world engulfed in greed, anger, ignorance, and delusion. 2,500 years ago, when the Buddha was teaching what he had awoken to, his world was similar in many ways to our world today. There were great centers of culture, and there were lands of stagnation. There were rulers with great power who thirsted for even more, and there were oppressed people who only wanted to live in peace. There were men who said that they alone held the key to spiritual secrets, and there were those who searched for different answers. There were people who had great wealth, and there were those who had nothing. There were people who said, "We must change," and there were those who denied there was anything wrong. Perhaps the distant land and time is not that distant after all. Greed, anger, ignorance, and delusion are still very much with us. In the world today, we hear so much about conflict. Economic conflict between the developed countries and third world countries, cultural conflict between the East and the West, sectarian conflict in the Middle East, ethnic conflict in Africa, so much pride and arrogance, so much hatred, so much pain. When even government leaders cannot peacefully resolve the world's problems, what are we supposed to do? How can we, individuals without power or influence, hope to accomplish anything positive in the face of such fury and intolerance? In our technologically advanced world, is there anything we can learn from this man who rode away one night, leaving behind a life of sensory indulgence, privilege, and power, to spend the rest of his life walking barefoot across India and Nepal, sleeping under trees and begging for his food? Is there anything we can learn from this man who awoke to the truth 2,500 years ago? If we view Buddhism merely as a religion filled with rituals and go no further, no, we will not benefit. Viewing Buddhism in this way, we may put too much energy into creating the perfect practice space and we may run the risk of becoming engrossed in the accoutrements of practice, robes and meditation cushions, incense and musical instruments. Approaching Buddhism in this way, our time will be spent capturing the appearance of Buddhist practice rather than applying the teachings. If we view Buddhism solely as a study of morality, concentration, and wisdom, then again, no, we will not benefit. If we merely study Buddhism, we may read many books and gain knowledge, but we will not experience and we will not savor the joy of the Dharma. The Dharma is the universal truth that the Buddha himself experienced and then related to us. If we only read about Buddhism, we will have misused our time by intellectualizing the teachings instead of practicing them. Just studying Buddhism or any faith tradition or ethical teaching will do nothing to solve our problems. We need to act. But how? If we concurrently view Buddhism as a teaching of morality, concentration, and wisdom, and we practiced it, yes, then and only then can Buddhism truly help us. Only when we experience what the Buddha was talking about will we begin to benefit ourselves and our world. May all beings be well. May all beings be happy. May all beings be at ease. Namo Adida Phat. Thanks so much for joining me today.